That's new. All right, so good morning. We're gonna start with align and hold version 2. And so for today, I want you to make sure you have 2 blocks and a blanket. And as a little bit of setup for today, let's go ahead and put both of your blocks somewhere towards the upper outer corners of your space. Your blanket can go off to the side, to the right, or to the left, doesn't matter. And then you're gonna lie down with your heads closer to your blocks, your feet further away from your blocks. So wherever you put your blocks. So Barbara, bring your blocks to the top of your mat instead. There we go. Yep, and then this first part, you're not gonna need to see me. I'll be very clear to make sure that we know what we're doing. And so once you lie down on your backs, go ahead and cactus. So Jenny, bring your blocks to the top of your mat. Yep. Go ahead and cactus your arms. So the blocks are far enough up that you're not going to hit them, but they're there. So once we turn around and get up, you won't need to worry about it. So Roberta, you might want to change directions as well. And then go ahead and bend your knees and plant the feet on the floor. And you can walk the feet a little wider than the hips and let the knees knock in towards each other. And you're just first noticing how this feels in the sacrum and the low back. If that feels great to you, you might stay here. Conversely, you might just extend your legs long once again and notice how that feels for you. Good morning, Laura. And then we're going to start by just taking a few moments to find our breath. So what we're working with today is very much the notion of why we practice. So for today, I'd like you to just start by noticing where you're breathing and how the body is feeling. Notice where the backs of the hands touch the floor, the elbows, the skull. Noticing the weight in the pelvis, maybe the feet and the legs. And I'd like you to just notice where you can start to soften and where you can start to allow more weight to just descend into the floor. And then as you continue to let your body become heavy, let's bring our awareness to our breath in the abdomen. So you'll just start to take a few deep breaths in and out of the abdomen. These might be audible breaths, they might not be, it's totally up to you. But you're going to take the next 3 to 5 breaths, allowing the breath to start to deepen, to start to expand. Now, as the breath continues to expand, just observe where it fills the body, noticing if it can fill the abdomen, the pelvis, and the low back, and whether that spaciousness of breath starts to travel upwards towards your head. Now for this last minute that we're here, I'd like you to start to lightly tone the back of your throat, inviting in a gentle, soft Ujjayi pranayama. And so you're really just listening to the sound of your breath with a slight constriction at the back of your throat. And as you continue to listen to the sound of your breath, I'd like you to even it out. So maybe it's a 4-count inhalation followed by a 4-count exhalation. It might be a little bit longer than that, but you're just allowing yourself to find what is known as samavriti with Ujjayi. You've got about another 30 seconds or so here, and you're just really concentrating and focusing on your breath. So I've been taking this course with my senior teacher on the Yoga Sutras. And one of the things that I find very interesting about the Yoga Sutras is the discussion that Patanjali has about why we practice. In essence, he says that we practice in order to find a calm state of mind. And more importantly, that we practice to retain a calm state of mind. So as we're in our practice today, I'd like you to observe when the mind starts to flutter, when it starts to move, the vrittis start to shake things up, and see how you can retain a calm breath in order to return to a calm state of mind. All right, gently bend your knees if your legs are straight. Walk your feet in so they're hip distance apart. And then you'll simply draw one knee into your chest and then the other knee into the chest. Hold your right knee with your right hand, your left knee with your left hand, and just pull the knees in towards your chest. And keeping your hands in this orientation, just go ahead and inhale, straighten the arms and reach the thighs forward. Maybe the toes reach towards your butt. And then exhale, pull the knees in towards your chest, empty out all of your air. You've got 3 more like this, just little rocking movement to help open up the back, and your hands stay pretty glued to your knees the whole time. Yeah. And after you've done 4 sets, you'll just simply hug the knees into the chest as tightly as you'd like to. Continue to breathe deeply. Notice if that samavriti is still here. Nice, smooth, consistent breath. And then very gently, you'll release your shins, draw the feet back to the floor, and open your arms out to the right and left in a T shape. From here, inhale, press through your feet, lift your bum up and slide your pelvis to the right and put your pelvis back down. As you exhale, draw the knees into the chest, but keep the arms as they are. Squeeze your legs in towards each other, maybe flointing the feet a little bit, hugging knees, ankles, and shins together. Take a big breath in. And as you exhale, start to allow the legs to fall over towards your left. And then you'll inhale and come back to that weird upright position. And you've got 4 sets of these. And as you take these, you're pressing your bottom leg, your left leg into your right knee a lot, even as the legs fall over to the left. You're noticing if you can keep the legs glued together and move very slowly. And then you're noticing if you can keep that right shoulder glued to the floor. So you only go as far as you can to keep the right shoulder glued, the left knee pressing into the right. Awesome sauce. The next time the legs start to fall towards the left, let them go all the way to the floor. Maybe draw your left hand on top of your right thigh. Lift the head and reposition the shoulders a little bit to the left so the right shoulder can drop more towards the floor. And you've just got 3 breath cycles here. Again, finding that samavriti, finding that ability to just calm and stabilize the breath so that the inhalation and the exhalation are equal. And noticing just what that happens to evoke within the mind. Awesome sauce. Go ahead and release that left hand, open back out to a T shape, and inhale, come back through center with the legs. As you exhale, plant your feet on the floor, re-squoot your butt underneath your shoulders, and just take a moment to pause and breathe before we do the other side. Why do you practice? All right, let's try the other side. Inhale, push through the feet, lift your pelvis, slide your pelvis to the left and put your butt back down. And then as you exhale, those thighs come in towards your chest, arms stay as they are. Actively floint through your feet, hugging knees, ankles, and shins together. And you'll take a big breath here. And on your next exhalation, the legs start to cascade or drop towards the right. And again, you've got 4 sets of these. That right knee keeps pressing up into the left, even as the legs fall towards the right. Your left shoulder stays pretty anchored and rooted into the floor. And you're starting to observe this churning that's happening in the abdomen as the legs go to the right. The abdomen sort of rotates towards the left. Awesome sauce. After you've taken 4 sets, you'll just allow the legs to cascade over to the right and really rest onto the floor. Yep. The right hand can then come to the top of your left knee. You might press into the back of your head, lift up through your right shoulder and scoot your right shoulder to the right so the left shoulder comes more to the floor. And then you'll just take about 3 to 5 breaths here, noticing what you notice. So the interesting thing is, according to Vyasa, and more specifically, according to commentary by um, Panditji, who is my teacher's teacher, the ability to practice requires Vyagrya, and Vyagrya is non-attachment, or at least that's how we commonly translate it. But his teaching has a much more profound insight into this. All right, go ahead and release that right hand. And as you inhale, draw the legs back up to center, scoot your butt underneath your head and take a moment to pause. Just observe what you notice. And then you'll just sweep your hands alongside your hips so your hands are on the floor. Make sure your feet are hip distance apart and knees are directly over your ankles. And then inhale, push through the feet, lift the arms up and overhead into the floor behind you as the hips lift high. And then exhale, just lower your pelvis to the floor, keep your hands as they are and come back down. Nice job. Inhale, push through the feet, lift your hips high. And as you exhale, hands and hips come back to your starting point. Nice job. We're going to do 3 more sets of those. So inhale, press through the feet, lift the hips, lift the arms. As you exhale, press the backs of the hands into the floor as you lower your vertebra down bone by bone. Nice job. When you need to, you'll inhale, press through the feet, lift your hips high. And you'll exhale and lower hands and hips back to that starting point. Nice work. You'll do 2 more sets on your own. So the key he talks about is Vyagrya. And as I said, Vyagrya is often translated as non-attachment, but he says when you look at the Sanskrit word and really analyze it, it means without coloring. And the coloring specifically that they're talking to is the coloring of our previous thoughts, our previous habits, our previous actions and beliefs. These often are called samskaras. But when we keep doing certain things over and over and over again, they gain a sense of strength, which makes them a vyasa. When it becomes a vyasa, it's really challenging for us to see anything other than how we see things. So when we're practicing non-attachment, essentially we're trying to let go of our conditioning so that we can retain a calm state of mind, so that we can stabilize that calm state of mind over a given period of time. All right, after you've done 4 sets, you're going to keep your hands alongside your hips, and then you'll pause here. Go ahead and walk your shoulders up towards your ears and underneath you just a bit. And then inhale, push down through the feet, lift the hips high. You might walk the shoulders even closer underneath you and interlace your hands. You might grab the outer edges of your mat, but you're going to push the upper shoulders down into the floor, the pinky toes down, the upper or outer hips up. And here's our first hold. And I'd like you to notice what happened to the samavritti. Can you let your breath be calm and stable? Can your inhalation be the same as your exhalation? And can you just observe and notice when fluctuations, vrittis, thoughts, feelings, sensations start to pop up, and how you can calm the mind, how you can soften any unnecessary tension, how in essence we can start to use each moment of our practice to start to become less attached to our colorings, to our habits, to our beliefs. So you've got another 3 to 5 breaths here. And I invite you to just notice what you notice. How can you allow yourself to return to just a state of awareness, observing without judgment, without a sense of this should be different? And go ahead and take your last deep breath cycle here. And as you exhale, you'll release your hands, you'll untuck your shoulders, and you'll bring your pelvis back down to the floor and just pause in stillness. Notice what you notice. Why is it that you practice? All right. Extend your right arm alongside your ears. Roll over onto your right side and continue to roll over onto your belly. Now, once you're on your belly, bring your hands alongside your lowest ribs. Make sure your legs are about hip distance apart and the tops of your feet are on the floor. Great. Energize your legs. Press down into the pinky toes and big toes evenly, and then lengthen your tailbone back so the low belly can draw in and up. Now, with your hands about rib distance or outer ribs, in thumbs in line with your nipples, you'll inhale and come up to a baby cobra. And then you'll exhale and lower all the way down. Okay, and we'll do that 5 more times. See if this next one can be a 5 count inhalation to cobra. Keep the legs active. And then a slow exhalation down. And then notice if the subsequent one can be a 6 count inhalation up to cobra. And exhale and lower down. And then you'll do a 7 count inhalation up to cobra. And slowly lower down, keep the legs active. And then you'll do an 8 count inhalation up to cobra. And exhale, lower down. Okay. On your next in-breath, go ahead and come back up to cobra, 8 count inhalation, and we're going to stay here for 1 minute. And you're going to press down into the tops of your toes, keep the legs active, and then notice where you can let go of any attachments that you have. Sometimes it creeps up around the neck and the shoulders. Sometimes it's a grimacing around the jaw. Sometimes it's most notably in how the breath changes. Can the breath still be calm and smooth? Potentially that 8 count inhalation, followed by that 8 count exhalation. Notice what you notice. Continue to deepen the breath, and you have about 3 more breath cycles here. At the end of your next exhalation, you're going to slowly lower down onto your abdomen. Awesome sauce. Make sure your hands are underneath your shoulders. Inhale, press up to tabletop, hands and knees. Now, as you exhale, go ahead and tuck both sets of toes under and lift your hips up and back for a downward facing dog. Knees stay super, super bent. Great. And then you'll inhale and come back down to hands and knees. That's the general pattern. And exhale, 8 counts back to downward facing dog. So we'll take this about 4 times. And you're working just with the count of the breath. Can you inhale down for 8 and then exhale back for 8? And you're just observing how each repetition, we're having the opportunity to lay down a track to establish a samskara, which becomes a vyasa. And we're allowing ourselves to notice that some of our attachments, some of our colorings can be positive colorings. Some of them can be serving and uplifting and life fulfilling. And some of them are less than helpful. So as you take these last 2 sets, we're allowing ourselves to start to cultivate some positive samskaras, some positive vyasas, so that the way in which we perceive the world will help us keep our minds calm, help us keep our minds and hearts in a state of clear seeing. So the next time you're in your downward facing dog, we're going to go ahead and pause. Make sure you press down through the L shape of your hands. Lift up through your inner armpits and wrap your triceps to the floor. Press your shoulders down to your hands, lift your hips up and away from your shoulders. And then maybe you start to pull the kneecaps up on your legs and maybe reach the heels back towards the wall or maybe the floor behind you And here's our next hold. Now I'd like you to again, see if you can steady the gaze on one point and just pay very particular attention to how the breath is moving now. Breathing in and out of your abdomen, seeing if it can stay at that 8 count inhalation, followed by that 8 count exhalation. And you're just noticing what you notice. When we work with our habits that are less than fulfilling, this is very interesting, but apparently, Patanjali knew this too, and Vyasa knew this as well. Vyasa is the most common commentator on the Yoga Sutras. He's the one that everybody quotes and references. In any case, he says that there are 4 stages of working with becoming non-attached. And the first is just to notice when we're gripped. Notice when something comes up. Awesome sauce. Go ahead and inhale, gaze towards your hands. As you exhale, step that right foot confidently between your hands. Big, long, low lunge. Pause here. Hands might come to blocks at this point or might stay completely on the floor. It's up to you. But you're going to reach back through your left leg a lot. I want you to push down into your right heel a lot and lift your low belly up as you squeeze your left butt. Keep reaching your right knee forward and your left heel back as you just pause. And as you breathe here, finding a nice gentle quad stretch across the back of your left leg. Take one more deep breath cycle here. As you exhale, lower your left knee to the floor. You might choose to pat it, you might not. As you inhale, bring your spine up to vertical. Reach your left arm up, plant your right hand on top of your right thigh. Yep. And as you exhale, shift your pelvis back, lower your left hand, come out of the shape just a bit. And we've got 4 of these. So you'll inhale, pelvis slides forward, left arm lifts up. And exhale, lower your left arm, slide your pelvis back. And as we take this 2 more times, you're just noticing how long your inhalation is. And you're noticing how long your exhalation is and seeing if we can find a sense of equanimity to those. So samavriti, in same winds. And it's just saying that the fluctuation of the breath is the same. So the inhalation is as long as the exhalation is as long as the inhalation. Awesome sauce. The next time you come forward with your left arm high, we're going to pause. Push down into your right foot, really push down into the heel, push down into the left knee, reach up through the top hand and see if you can steady the gaze on one spot. Then you'll begin to pay attention to how the breath has changed and see if you can bring a sense of steadiness and ease to the breath. Noticing where you can soften any tension around your left shoulder, soften any tension around your jaw. It's kind of exciting to think that our practice is intended just to help us return to a state of clear seeing. And the word often used in Sanskrit for that is viveka. And when we have clear seeing and it's consistent with us, it evokes what they call this viveka shakti. So our energy is really clear. It's really energy or efficient. And it allows us to be in service with our life, with our needs, with all the things that we're hoping to aspire to. I've got about 3 more breaths here. Noticing where you can soften any tension and be with whatever sensations might be coming up. And at the end of your next exhalation, you'll lower your left hand, shift your weight forward, lower your right hand, tuck the back toes under. If they're not, straighten the back leg long, maybe momentarily straighten the front leg long. And then you'll make your way back to downward facing dog and pause. And you'll just observe and breathe and notice what you notice. Seeing if you can remain as stable and still as possible. And then very gently, you'll take a big breath in and exhale, step your left leg between your hands, long lunge. Pause here. Hands might come to blocks or stay on the floor, but we're just going to find this shape first. So press into your left heel a lot. Press back through your right heel. Lift your low belly and maybe squeeze your right butt cheek a bit. Now see if you can find length through your spine. So it's as long as it can be. Yep. So there's a nice stretch happening across the front of your right quadricep, and you're just pausing and you're breathing. Your task in this moment is just to notice when the mind wanders and see how you can bring it back to clarity, back to stillness. You've got one more breath cycle here. And then as you exhale, lower the right knee to the floor. Bring your spine up to vertical, left hand on top of left thigh, right arm up and overhead. This is your inhale shape, so you take a big breath in. As you exhale, the right hand swims forward and down, the hips slide back. And you've got 4 sets of these. So inhale, swimming the right arm up. And exhale, swimming it back. And again, you're just noticing how the breath is. It's very interesting that the breath is one of those fun things that we take for granted, but really does have the power to calm the mind, to stabilize the mind, to really change our perspective on so many things. Awesome sauce. The next time your right arm is up, we're going to pause and hold here. So push down into your left heel, especially the heel. Push down into the right knee. We suck those points together. Draw all 5 fingers on your left hand towards each other. Right hand towards each other. Reach up through your right hand and maybe pick a gaze point that's steady and consistent. And you'll just pause and you'll breathe. And you'll notice what you notice here. Where can you soften around that right shoulder? And it's just a simple choosing to let go. So try something different by just being still and noticing what's not needed. Stay with your breath for these last 4 to 5 breaths. Nice work. Okay, big breath in. As you exhale, lower the right hand down, lower the left hand down, tuck the back toes under if they're not, straighten the back leg long, and then you might momentarily straighten the front leg long too. Great. And then let's transition. Inhale, bend your front knee. Place your hands on the floor. Make sure they're directly underneath your shoulders, and then step your left leg back to meet your right. Oh, buddy. Now we're going to pause here with your hands directly underneath your shoulders. Reach back through both of your heels like we were doing in that low lunge. Make sure that your hips and shoulders and head are in one alignment. And again, we're going to pay attention to, can you draw your chin slightly towards your chest, and then like a turtle, retract your ears forward out of your shell. And we're going to hold here for a minute. And I'd like you to just breathe, noticing samavriti. Is your inhalation as long as your exhalation? Is the exhalation as long as the inhalation? You'll notice the breath starts to waver, starts to wonky out when your mind starts to wander. So when we observe that, we can just say, okay, mind, you can talk to me later. Right now, I need you to focus on my breath. And see if you can come back to the breath, letting it be an even inhalation and an even exhalation. And you've got about 5 more steady, deep breath cycles here. Big breath in, big breath out. The end of your next exhalation, bend your knees, lift your hips, downward facing dog, momentary reprieve. And you'll just pause and you'll breathe and you'll notice what down dog is like now. How is the breath? Can it be calm? Can it be stable? Can you observe what doing that does for you versus to you? Stay with your breath. Notice if the gaze is wandering. Notice if any fidgets start to arise and see if you can just breathe. So the first stage of breaking any habit is to know that it is there. So that's all we're becoming aware of. Okay, gently exhale all the breath. Bend your knees and walk or hop your feet to your hands. Now, once you get to the top of your space, you're in a giant forward fold. You might clasp opposite elbow. You might clasp the back of your head, but we're going to see if we can remain pretty still here and just pause and breathe. Starting to deepen and attune ourselves to the subtleties of our body, to the subtleties of our breath. All right. If you'd like, you're going to release your hands and slide a block between your shin bones on the second setting. Once your block is established there, let's start to tip the weight of our body forward so it's even between the balls of the feet and the heels of the feet. Slide your hands up your shin bones or thigh bones and lift your spine parallel to the floor. Now, as you're here, keep hugging into your block, keep sliding your shin bones forward and lightly draw the shoulder blades onto the back as though the muscles behind the heart can come together. Yep. Draw the shoulders away from the ears a little bit more. Yep. And you're going to just pause here, crown reaching forward, little turtle coming out of little shells. Nice work. Got one more deep breath cycle here. And then gently bring your hands to heart center. So keep a slight bend in your knees for just a moment. Thumbs press into your sternum. Sternum presses into your thumbs. Turtle shells come out. Yep. Inhale, bend your knees, sit your butt, chair pose. Oh, buddy, yep. And from here, you might stay with your hands here or reach your arms alongside your ears, but here's our next hold, Utkatasana. Now in this one, I'd like you to notice if you can continue to push down into your heels, if you can soften the shoulders away from your ears, and then find your breath. The breath is really what determines how advanced one is in a pose. How steady can your breath remain? How unshakable is your practice in the sense that, you still have that sense of reverence and shraddha. Shraddha is one of my favorite words because I struggle with it so much. It means faith. How can you have faith that even though you don't know what might be coming next, you got this? Your practice is leading you to that calm state that you seek. Continue to stay with your breath. You've got one more minute in the shape. Notice how the mind has probably reacted to that. How do you return it to a calm state? Where are you attached? Where is a specific pattern, habit, or belief coloring your experience of this moment? And how can you gently loosen that, soften that, let go of that, untangle that? Okay, you've got about 3 more breath cycles here. Keep the breath calm. Keep the breath even. Nice work. Inhale, stand up, look up, reach up. Drop your tail down, stay rooted evenly through the feet, and see if you can find length up through the back of the spine, from the tailbone, through the ears, through the occipital bones. Very gently, you'll open your arms out to the right and to the left, and just notice the energy that's moving through your body. Sorry, hands can come all the way down to the sides. There we go. Awesome sauce. All right, go ahead and remove that block. Now, before we go on, bring a block to, I guess, the left side of your space, to the top and the back of your mat on the left side. Okay, and then you'll come to stand at the top of your space, back to Tadasana. From here, let's go ahead and step our right leg long and back for Virba 1, Warrior 1, Virba Hadrasana 1. So the right leg goes back, and you'll take a moment to bend that left knee and try to square your shoulders and your hips-ish towards the top-ish of your mat. And then for today, we're going to cactus our arms out like little goal posts. And I encourage you to have the elbows come forward, the hands are slightly back. And what I mean by that is, if you use your fishbowl eyes, you can look out to the right and to the left, and you can see your elbows. Okay, now inhale, you'll bend the front knee a little bit more, tip your crown forward so you're in one long line just a bit, and then exhale, straighten that front leg. And we've got 4 of these. So big inhalation, bending the front knee. Yep. Big exhalation, shifting back. And now notice where your gaze is. Can your gaze stay on the horizon, or does your gaze drop down to the floor? Yep. And so we're building that Shraddha. Our practice helps us maintain and establish a calm mind. And it gives us the faith, the power, the belief to persevere in all the different things, situations, events, relationships we find ourselves in. So Mike, you don't need to come so far forward with your chest. Just simply work on bending the knee, and the chest will go with you. Yeah, there you go. Okay, the next time you come forward with a bent knee, we're going to pause here. Here's our next hold. And I want you to lightly think of engaging the shoulder blades on your back. See if you can lift the elbows in line with the tops of the shoulders, and draw the chin into the sternum, but lengthen out through the ears. Yep. And then if you'd like, you can keep your elbows bent, or you can straighten your arms high, but you're going to pause, and you're going to breathe, and you're going to notice what you notice. So the elbows bent is to help open the heart. It's to help soften any tension in our rhomboids. And so we're just trying to strengthen these back muscles here, the muscles that support our heart space, that allow us to have a sense of reverence in our practice, a sense of consistency and discipline in our practice, as well as reverence and consistency within our own lives. And you've got about 1 to 2 more steady, deep breath cycles here. On your next inhalation, you'll take a full breath in. As you exhale, straighten your front leg long. Lower your arms alongside your hips, step to the top of your space, and pause. And just notice the energy moving around in your body. Big, steady breaths. Awesome sauce. Let's go ahead and try the other side. Let's start by bringing our hands to our hips this time. Step your left leg long and back, and make sure it's slightly to the left. Left toes are pointing to the top corner of your space, right knee is bent. And then notice how much you can direct the shoulders and maybe even the hips towards the top of your mat. Great. And then slightly lean your head forward just a bit. Curl the tailbone under, almost like you're taking a cat pose, so you can squeeze your left butt cheek, and then cactus the arms out to the right and to the left. Awesome sauce. Great. And then you've got a big inhalation here. As you exhale, you'll straighten that front leg long, and you've got 4 sets of these. And as best as you can, notice if your gaze is dipped down to the floor just because you're leaned in, or if you can keep your gaze still in line with the horizon. And as you take these last two, you're paying attention to how long is your breath. Is it 4 counts at this point? Did that become a lot more shallow, or is it still hanging out at the 8 count range? There's no judgment, there's no worry. We're just allowing ourselves to uncouple ourselves from our habits, from the ways that aren't always so serving to us. Awesome sauce. This next time you come into Warrior One, we're going to go ahead and pause there. See if you can notice the length of your breath. The elbows are in line with your shoulders. Yep. The gaze is 1 millimeter above, and you're just paying attention. You're riding the wave of your own breath. The arms might have straightened or they might still be cactus, but you are breathing. What are the ways in which you return to a state of calmness, a state of equilibrium, a state of open and clear seeing, so that your Viveka Shakti, your energy, is most aligned with the person you aspire to be in this world, in your relationships, in your life. We've got about 3 to 5 more steady breaths here. Awesome sauce. Next in breath, big breath in. Exhale, straighten the front leg. Lower the hands down, step to the top of your space and pause. Just notice the energy swirling around in your being. Can we just be still? So the interesting thing about Vyasas is we don't see that they're there. They've become so deeply embedded that they just are who we think we are, but they're not actually who we are. Okay, let's go ahead and turn to face the right side of your mat, the long edge of your mat. So hopefully your blocks are now behind you. And go ahead and open your feet to about, 3.5 feet apart, depends upon how long your limbs are. And then you're going to turn your left toes to the right, your right toes towards the right. So we're getting prepped to do extended side angles. So I want you to first make sure that your feet are as wide as they need to be, and then you can go ahead and bend into your front knee. That left hip might come forward just a little bit, and you might choose to bring one of your blocks to either the inside or the outside edge of your right foot. Great. Lengthen your left hand back alongside your left hip, so it's like parallel-ish towards your leg. Inhale, you'll sweep your arm up and over your head like it's the sun coming through its full cycle of, a sunrise. And then you'll exhale and sweep the arm back, pulling the belly in, maybe looking back towards your left hand. And you've got 3 more of those. Inhale, the sun rises, the hand sweeps. Oh, that's a good one, Roberta. Exhale, sweep the hand back and let the sun set. You guys will have to tell me if that one works. And you'll just take about 2 more of these, and you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're noticing what's opening up on the left side of your lungs. Awesome sauce. And the next time your left arm sweeps up and overhead, we're going to pause there in Uttita Parsva Konasana. Push down into your right heel a lot. Push down into your left pinky toe a lot. Hug those points together. Draw the belly in and rotate it towards the left. And then find a spot to keep your gaze. And you're going to pause and breathe and pause and breathe. And you're just noticing if the breath is still steady and even. Is the inhalation and the exhalation the same length? And the next, are they both smooth, or is there a sense of jumpiness, bumpiness in the breath? And if there is, no worries. As best as you can, see if you can smooth out the breath, even out the breath. Nice work. Next in-breath, go ahead and look towards the floor. Sweep your left arm down and come up for Virba 2. Oh, we're not done yet. That right quad is probably saying, what the heck is going on? And see if you can just pause and breathe. So, your right knee is still there. You're still reaching out through both of your arms. You're still pushing out through both of those legs. And you're noticing where you can soften any unnecessary tension. We've got about another 6 breath cycles here. So you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're keeping that right knee bent at about a right angle. And you're like, oh, yay. Big breath in, big breath out. Notice where you can soften. Notice where you can let go of any attachment. Physically, mentally, emotionally, energetically in terms of your breath. Awesome sauce. Inhale. As you exhale, straighten the front leg. You might need to remove that block if it came to the inside edge of your foot. Turn both feet so they're parallel to the short edge of your mat. And you're just going to pause and you're going to breathe and become aware of whatever is happening in that right thigh. Noticing how that quickly dissipates. And then we're going to just notice, can you soften the arms and the shoulders? Can you let the breath re-stabilize to a calm, steady point? And then we'll go ahead and try the other side. So your right toes turn to the left, your left toes turn to the left. Notice if you need to separate your feet, right to left. And then you're going to bend into your left knee. And we want to make sure that we're really pushing down into our left heel and our pelvis might square more towards the back left-ish corner of your mat. And then you'll go ahead and lower your left hand down to a floor or block, maybe on the inside or the outside edge of your left foot. Reach back through your right hand. And then 4 little sunrises. Inhale, sweeping your arm up and over your head. And exhale, sweeping it back, drawing the belly in, maybe looking towards your right hand. And you've got 3 more. And you're just pausing and you're breathing. You're noticing if that breath can be long and smooth as we now start to open up the lungs on the right side. And on this side, you only have 2 lobes of your lungs, so it might feel a little bit harder to get the same steadiness, depth of breath that you might have had on the other side, and that's okay. Awesome sauce. The next time your right arm sweeps up and overhead, we're going to pause. We're going to breathe. Push down into your left heel a lot. Slide your outer left hip back. Press down into your right pinky toe. Then you're just going to pause and breathe. Notice where your gaze is. Notice how your breath is. And then notice where you can soften. Some of the things that I personally cling to are kind of self-defining, and yet they're not that important, one. And they're not always that helpful, too. And that doesn't mean that that's your experience, but we're just noticing. We want to create the space for the positive samskaras to build, the positive vyasas to build, and the space to let go of the not so positive samskaras, the not so positive vyasas. Got about 3 more breath cycles here. All right, go ahead and inhale, gaze down towards your left foot, sweep your right hand down and bring the spine up to Virba 2. Last hold here. And then you're going to notice if you can continue to push down into that left heel, soften any tension, especially in your right shoulder. This is our past, the things that are supportive to us. We want to allow them to be there, even as you're energetically extending out into the future, out into the left hand. Our practice is what's happening in this moment in your trunk. How do you bring the mind back to calmness? What things do you need to soften and surrender? What things do you need to or want to uncouple yourself from? You've got your last 2 breath cycles here. Nice job. Inhale, straighten your front leg long. If you've got a block on the inside, you're going to have to move that. Turn both feet parallel to the short edges of your mat. And for my hypermobile people, meaning your hamstrings are pretty open, walk your feet in just a little bit. People that hamstrings feel a little tighter, you'll walk them out and you'll just pause and breathe there for a moment. Now, those of you with your hands near your hips, see if you can lightly invite the shoulders onto the back body, supporting the heart. Not through a lot of effort, but through a letting go of tension in the front of the chest. Mike, a little less. Erica, sternum up just a bit. Yep. Awesome sauce. Next exhale, you'll slide forward, hands down the backs of the thighs, folding all the way in to Prasarada Padottanasana Variation A. And when you get down, the hands might come underneath the shoulders. They might walk back between the legs. They might continue to hold on to the ankles. But this is our next hold, and we're going to stay here for about 2 minutes. And so I want you to continue to press into the pinky toe edges. Hug your inner shins in as you lift your kneecaps up. And it almost feels like you're tipping forward on your thigh bone, so your head comes forward, pivoting over your pelvis. Yep. Jenny, see where you can soften around your shoulders. So shoulders, yep. Roberta, draw your pelvis forward a little bit more. Yep. Where is your breath? Barbara, can you release your neck a little bit? Yeah, there you go. Last 3 breath cycles here. Awesome sauce. Listen closely. Walk your hands underneath your shoulders. Push down into your hands so there's weight in your hands. You will bend your knees as much as you need to, and you'll either walk or hop your feet towards each other. From here, bend your knees to touch the floor, and you're going to come directly into toe squat. So walk knees, ankles, and shins together. If you want to turn and face the top of your space, great. If you don't, great. But you're going to tuck both sets of toes under, and you're going to sit super tall in your spine. And just rest your hands in your lap. And you can soften or close the gaze, whatever feels best to you. But we're going to be here for a minute. And you're just noticing how still you can be. Got about 3 more breath cycles. The end of your 3rd exhalation, you'll gently come forward, release the tops of the feet, maybe lightly pitter-patter the toes. Maybe take a slight counter stretch. Awesome sauce. All right. You might want to block between your hands. You might not want to block. You might just interlace your hands, but you're going to lower your forearms down onto the floor. So either L shape hugs the block, or you're just going to interlace your hands, lower your forearms down to the floor. Round through your spine a lot, like a happy, angry Halloween cat. And then step your right foot back, step your left foot back, Falankhasana forearms. So make sure your butt is in line with your shoulders, so it's not pitching up like a tent, but it's long like a plank, so you might need to walk your feet back a little bit. And then from here, make sure your shoulders are directly over your elbows, and then you'll start to draw the chin to the chest, but lift the back of the ears out and see if you can create one long line from your chin to your sternum, through your pubic bone, back through your toes. Yep. And then we're just going to push down into our forearms, and we're going to breathe back to that whole Samavriti thing. And you're just going to notice what you notice. How smooth and consistent and stable can you make your breath? Got about another 30 seconds. Continue to breathe. Inner armpits float up. Yep, back of head lifts. Yep. The end of your next exhalation, lower your knees down, press back, child's pose. Hooray, everybody's favorite pose. You're gonna be here for a minute. Hands can sweep forward or hands can sweep back. It's totally up to you. But just observe and notice what you notice here. In this pose of complete rest, perhaps depending upon your knees and ankles and hips, can you allow yourself to really just return to a state of calmness, of clarity, of joy in the mind, a sense of reverence for why it is that you practice what it gives you? Got another 3 to 5 breaths. How smooth, how stable, how consistent is your breath? Awesome sauce. If the hands are back behind you, well, everyone walk your hands underneath your shoulders. Push down through your hands and bring yourself up to sit. From there, sweep your legs around in front of you and put your butt on the floor. Now, some of you will sit up on a blanket, some of you will sit up on a block, some of you will just stay completely on the floor, but you're going to put your pelvis on something, or, well, not. And then we're going to take a twist. So legs long, go ahead and bend your right knee and plant your right foot on the floor in line with your hip and pretty close to your left inner thigh. Flex through your left foot a lot, push your left heel down, straighten your left leg long, and sit super tall. Now your left hand can come outside of or hug your right knee. Your right hand can come back behind you. Inhale, push down through your limbs to lift up through the spine, and exhale, rotate the belly to, or pull it back on the right side to rotate to the right. And then from there, see if you can soften any tension around your shoulders, broaden through the collarbones, and lift the gaze about 1 millimeter above eye level. And then just pay very close attention to how the breath is working here, making sure that left leg stays active. And you're just pausing and you're breathing. How long, how smooth, how steady is your breath? How tall can you still remain in the spine so that right hand can act as a reminder that the top of the sacrum can come forward and in towards your right thigh. We've got 2 more steady, deep breaths here. On your next in-breath, gently unwind the spine, come back through center, extend your right leg long to meet your left, and take a moment to pause in Dandasana. And you're sitting as tall as you can through the spine, feet are flexed, top of sacrum is coming in and forward, and you're just noticing what you notice. Awesome sauce. Let's go ahead and try the other side. So bend your left knee, plant your left heel in line with your left sit bone. Flex through that right foot so the toes are pulling up towards the right knee. Right kneecap is pulling up towards your hip. Right arm swims around your left shin bone. Left hand swims behind you. And then push down. Take a big breath in and push down through the right leg, the left arm. Scoop the belly on the left side and rotate the right ribs to the left. And then notice where you can soften any tension around the shoulders. Broaden through your collarbones and continue to keep that right leg active, especially in the big toe region. As you, pause and breathe. Notice if you can be still. There will be natural fidgets that come up, but you just watch them. It's our old habits coming to the surface. We want to watch them so we can allow ourselves to choose whether or not we wish to do that anymore. Take your last 2 breath cycles here. And then on your next in-breath, you'll gently unwind and come back to center. Extend your left leg long. And if you're sitting on something, please go ahead and take that out from underneath your butt. And this really depends upon how your core strength is doing, as well as how your low back is doing. Some of you will keep your legs long. Some of you will bend your knees and plant your feet on the floor. Sandy, scoot towards the top of your space. Great. So we're going to go ahead and extend our arms parallel to the floor. Yep, you're going to take a big breath in. As you exhale, your tailbone curls under. You start to round the back and you lower down until the shoulder blades touch the floor. You'll take an inhale there. Next exhale, you'll come all the way back up. And we've got 4 of these. So we're slowly exhaling, rolling down bone by bone, all the way down until the shoulder blades touch. And then exhaling, coming all the way back up. So you have to take a breath to pause there because those are 2 exhales for when you're contracting. So inhale at the top, exhale, slowly roll down bone by bone by bone by bone by bone. Once you get to your depth, you'll take a breath in. Then you'll exhale to come all the way back up, but up, but up, but up. This is our last one. So you'll exhale, curl under, round through the spine. And we're going to pause here for 3 breath cycles. So you'll inhale, rounding through the upper back, lengthening the tailbone down. Exhale, inviting the belly into the spine. Got 2 more. Big breath in. Big breath out. Last one, big breath in. And big breath out. And go ahead and lower all the way down to the floor. Release. And you just pause and you breathe. And you notice what you notice. Pause and you breathe. And you notice what you notice. Awesome sauce. All right. If you would like to try this, we're going to do one more supine back bend, prone back bend. So you're going to roll over onto your belly. You can choose to stay right here while the rest of us are doing this next thing, but otherwise you're going to roll onto your belly, just flop over. You don't need to see me to do this, so this will be okay wherever you're facing. And you'll just bring your forehead to the mat. You'll sweep your hands back alongside your hips. Make sure your feet are about hip distance apart. And take your palms to face down. Great. Press down into the tops of your toenails. Straighten through your legs. Lengthen back through the tail as you scoop the pubic bone up, the belly button in. Now on your next in breath, you'll draw your shoulders up towards your ears and draw the shoulder blades onto the back. Slightly lift the head away from the floor so ears are in line with the shoulders. And then you can start to walk the hands back and slightly wide to lift your chest. And option number 1 is to stay right here and breathe. Option number 2 is to reach your legs up and away from the floor like supermen and superwomen. Option number 3 is to float your hands up and away from the floor. And the last option is to bend your knees and grab the outer ankles. You choose whichever option works for you, but we're going to be here for about a minute. So you're going to pause and you're going to breathe, and you're going to pause and you're going to breathe. And those of you that are working in Dandasana, or rather Dhanurasana, you're going to push out through the big toe mounds like you never thought you needed to, and lengthen back through your tailbone like you never thought you needed to. Everyone that's in a locust variation, you're going to just continue to breathe, finding length from your sternum forward, your tailbone back, and a light hug on the shoulder blades in the back body. Yep. And you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're pausing and you're breathing, and you have about another 3 to 5 breath cycles depending upon how you're breathing. How smooth, how steady, how consistent can your breath be? Nice work. Last exhalation here. Inhale to lift a little higher, and then exhale, lower all the way down, and hooray, happy day. We are done with our belly down back bend. Bring an ear to the mat and just pause and breathe. Pause and breathe. How do you remind yourself to return to a calm, clear state of mind? Go ahead and draw the other ear to the mat. Awesome sauce. Go ahead and swim your right arm alongside your ears, roll onto your right side, and continue to roll onto your back. We are setting up for Shavasana, so if you need to cover your body with anything, now would be a great time to do that. But before you actually cover your body, we're going to take Sukhi Randrasana. So don't cover bodies with blankets just yet, meaning if you're putting clothes on. Yep. And then when you're on your back, you'll gently bend your knees and plant your feet firmly on the floor. Cross your right ankle over the top of your left thigh. Thread your hands through the hole. Grab the back of the left thigh, front of the left shin. Make sure you're flexing through both feet. And you're just hugging the thighs in towards your chest as you try to keep your sacrum, your pelvis pretty rooted down into the floor. Yep, noticing where you can soften around the shoulders. I find it pretty fascinating that the practice really is about this softening, this letting go, this opening, and the strength that comes from that. One of the things my teacher talks about, or at least has been talking about recently, or I've heard recently, is this notion that, it's our strength that's more important than our flexibility. And sometimes it takes a lot of strength to know when certain habits, patterns, beliefs, ways of being need to be let go of, because they're compromising our state of clear seeing, our state of joy, our state of ease in our life. They're impacting our practice to be the best human beings we can be. All right. Gently release your hands, bring the left foot back to the floor, draw the right foot to the floor, and just pause for a moment. And then you'll just notice and see what you see. How are you able to return to a calm state of mind here? And when you're ready, you'll switch sides. Left ankle crosses over top of right thigh. Flex through that left foot a lot. Thread your hands through the hole of your legs and grab the back of the right thigh, front of the right shin. Then notice maybe you might need a pillow or a blanket underneath your head if it feels like your chin is jutting up towards the sky more than your sternum is. And you'll just pause and you'll breathe. And hello, outer left hip. Hello, sensations in body. How can I see you and not get caught up in you? Got about another 3 to 5 breaths here. And then at the end of your next exhalation, go ahead and pause, release the hands, draw the left foot to the floor, or right foot to the floor, left foot to the floor. Sorry about that, guys. And then walk your feet outside of your hips, let your knees knock in. You might cactus the arms once again as we started, or you might wrap the arms around the body, but you're gonna just take a moment to pause here and breathe. Now, as you're in this shape, hopefully our practice today, the asana, part of our sadhana, has enabled us to pause just a little bit so that we can have a good idea of what we might need next, of what is most calling and inviting to us. And some of you might choose to stay right here. Some of you might go directly into Supta Baddha Konasana supported with the blocks. Some of you might do legs up the wall or straight up to Shavasana. You're allowing yourself to notice and choose based upon not an attachment to how things have been done in the past, but based upon what you're needing in this moment. And I encourage you, in whatever final shape you've chosen for today, to really make sure you feel supported, to really make sure that you feel able to continue to let go. I think it's very interesting, but our body, just like our mind, just like our heart, is able to contemplate new things when it feels stable, when it feels nurtured, when it feels loved, and in essence, when it feels supported. So you're making sure that your body feels all those things, taking any last little adjustments you need here. Sandy, before you go into Shavasana, roll back over and do another locust pose to make sure your neck's okay after that. Great. And as the rest of you settle into this shape, I want you to just examine the body, noticing where sensations are alive and alert. And to the best of your ability, just be with them with the intention that you can generally, or gently rather, start to allow some of those tensions to unwind. And the best way I have of describing this is it's like you're trying to unwind a fine piece of gold or metal. You wouldn't yank it, you wouldn't pull at it, you would gently move it this way if there's a knot in the metal, and then gently that way, allowing things to soften and open gradually. And so we want to use the same type of approach when working with the granthis, the knots, the attachments within our bodies. And so you'll continue to do that for the next few moments or so. and I'll let you know when it's time to come out. Gently return your awareness to your breath. And as you come back to your breath, just take a moment to check in, to notice what you notice. As you're checking in, there might be a part of you that wants to stay here for a little while longer. And if that's the case, by all means, hang out here as long as you'd like. When you are ready to move forward, you'll start to invite in a deeper breath and start to invite in some gentle movement into your physical form. Those that are in movement, start to make your way to your right side and just pause there. Start to make your way to a tall seat. And be sure to elevate your bum on a block or a blanket. And plant the hands on the tops of the thighs wherever is comfortable. Sit pretty tall through the spine, stacking ears over shoulders, shoulders over hips. And then we're going to start by just you fidgeting until it feels like you can come to a still spot and be stable where you're at. As you feel like you found that stability, we're going to end today with box breath instead of Nadi Shodhana. So I want you to inhale for 4 counts. Hold the breath at the top for 4. And exhale for 4. Hold the breath out for 4. And you'll just repeat that on your own. So you're inhaling for 4, holding for 4, exhaling for 4, empty for 4. And as you continue on this little pattern on your own, the invitation is to continue to notice where you can soften as you breathe in, where you can soften as you retain the breath in or out, and where you can soften as you breathe out. And you just continue to breathe, noticing that the mind might talk to you. Things in your environment might start to call your attention. But our practice enables us the opportunity to come to a calm, clear state of mind and to develop that calm, clear state of mind so that we can apply it to various situations on and off the mat. At the end of the next retention out, next kumbhaka out, you'll just allow that breathing pattern to dissipate. And you'll just take a few natural breaths on your own, letting the breath return back to an involuntary rhythm. What I find most meaningful in my own practice is that it does provide the space to uncouple some of my past habits, patterns, beliefs from the person that I wish to be in this moment, from the person I wish to be going forward. As we close our practice, I invite you to notice what it is that your practice allows you to uncouple from, let go of, and what that in turn invites in. Bring your hands to heart center, Anjali Mudra. Press the palms into each other. Receive the weight of your thumbs into your sternum, and then lift your heart towards your hands. Allow your chin to soften towards your chest. We use this shape as a reminder to bow to the practice, a sense of reverence and gratitude for our practice and all the gifts that it gives us. The light within me honors and salutes the light within each of you. Namaste.